Alright guys, welcome back. So we finished the user module. Now we're going to move into pretty much doing the exact same thing for the recipes. So I'm actually just going to copy this, paste it in there, rename, because it's going to be very similar, and do recipe. So now for the actions we have here, we can actually go to action creators and just copy those. And let's close some of these down so we don't get confused. There we go. So these are the actions that we want here. So now I don't need any of that stuff anymore because we don't need any of the user stuff. And then I'm just going to start adding these. So recent recipes requested, add recipe finished, recipe fetch requested, oops, and then my recipe fetch requested. Alright, that looks good. So now we can just do pretty much the same thing and create functions for these guys. So add recipe finished, add recipe finished, recent request recent recipes, request recent recipes. And that should be using the action here. Don't need sign up. And then request recipe, we'll call it. Recipe fetch requested. We have some weird action names. Maybe I'll go back and change what I name these for. Request recipe. And then my recipe fetch requested. I guess we can create a separate one. I actually want to look at how the API is handling it. Okay, so notice how these two are basically the same thing, but the inside of the find query is different. So we can actually pass the find query in as a parameter, and then now we can just like basically pass that in. So that's what I'm going to do. So I guess we still need two actions though. No, we don't, because we just request recipe. Actually, we should do two just to be safe. Request my recipe, we'll call it. Okay. Now we don't need any of this junk anymore. Okay, so we have our actions that we're going to be using for our recipes. Now we can go to sagas next. And we're going to just do the same thing that we did last time. Sagas. Just do that. Okay, so I just pasted in the sagas folder here or sagas file that we had in sagas here, and I'm just going to go through and trim out the stuff that we don't need and fix everything. So take every, again, is from here. We're not going to be needing fork. We're not going to be needing log out, sign up, or log in. And that's good. So now keep that. Try sign in we don't need. Try login we don't need. Login we don't need. Sign up we don't need. Recent recipes is good. Add recipes good. Call log out no. These are all good, and then we don't need the root. So each one of my sagas here we can export out. Export. Export. So it's the sagas we export, and then the call functions we don't. So here we go. Export. Okay. My naming is a little off here. It's not consistent. I'm just going to go from the bottom and make sure everything is good. And actually before I do that though, I want to import my actions. And again, it looks like this is the case where I have some actions here that were not in the action creators, which makes sense. So I'm just going to copy actually this and paste in my actions. That way I can see which actions we need. Okay, so I need a recent recipe succeeded. Recent recipes not requested. Succeeded. Recent recipes succeeded. And that's actually going to need a function down here. It needs a function if we call it like this. If we're just listening like that, it doesn't. So here we're going to say recent recipes succeeded. Recent recipes succeeded. Okay, so this one is good. And we have recent recipes requested. Recent recipes requested we have there. So we have the action for that one. This one we need add recipe succeeded. So we have add recipe finished, but not add recipe succeeded. Add recipe succeeded. Alrighty. So good here. And actually, notice how that needs to be a function too. So add recipe succeeded. Cool. And add recipe requested, we should have add recipe finished. Actually, no, we don't have an add recipe requested. Add recipe requested. And that doesn't need a function. Recipe fetch done needs a function. Recipe fetch done. Recipe fetch done. Fetch done. Recipe fetch requested. Recipe fetch requested is there. My recipe fetch done. My recipe fetch. Nope, don't have it. So my recipe fetch done. And then that needs to be a function too. My recipe fetch done. I'm adding all of these. We might actually not need all of these in actuality. And then we have the my fetch requested. Okay. I'm just going off of what the app is using right now. We might be refactoring that later, but it's good to add that in now. Okay, so now here we can import those all in. So from actions, we can get recent recipes succeeded, recent recipes requested. We're going to need add recipe succeeded, add recipe requested, recipe fetch done, recipe fetch requested, recipe fetch requested, my recipe fetch done, my fetch recipe requested. So my recipe fetch done, my fetch recipe requested. Okay. Okay, so those are all the things that we need. And I'm just going to move this up here so we have all of them sorted a little bit. They're red right now because they're not being used. So let's change that. So here we'll call recent recipes succeeded. We'll pass in the recipes. Here we'll put recent recipes requested. Here we'll do add recipe succeeded, and don't need to pass anything in there. What's going on there? Oh, unexpected dangling. It doesn't like that property. Okay. Add recipe requested. Recipe fetch done. Passing in recipe. Recipe fetch requested. And here recipe my recipe fetch done. Passing in my recipes. Oops, my recipes. And then last one, my recipes requested. Alrighty, that took a lot of actions to refactor there. Now let's do some more refactoring. We're going to be removing the Feathers app here, which we do not need. We'll need this, and then here we'll do payload. And then we don't actually need to pass all those in, just pass in payload. Looks good here. Don't need app. Don't need Feathers app. Same thing here, don't need Feathers app, and then we can get the payload. And all we do is pass the payload in. Payload. Oops. Payload. Okay, so we removed all the Feathers class app, and this looks good now. So our saga for the recipe module is good. That's it for this video. In the next one, what we're going to do is we're going to continue with the recipe module, and we'll implement the API and the reducers for it. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.